Hello everyone. Welcome to our next talk in October, and there are nearly 400 people on the line. That's great, and thank you very much for joining our next event. My name is Max Janzen. I have worked for Zurich Germany for 7 years now, and I lead the project Broker Transformation in the Sales Digitalization Unit within the Distribution and Partnership Department. And together with Guillermo, we are the external connection leads for the Global Zurich Initiative Next. I would like to start the event with a short introduction of our Global Next initiative and what is our purpose globally. Next was founded in 2019 and several countries are represented in our core team on a global level. In brief, the shape of workforce is changing. By 2025, 75% of global workforce will be millennials. With Next, we give a voice to newer generations to future-proof our company globally regarding the future of work, future of climate, and to shape our legacy. As part of our role as external connection lead, we will be running and developing our initiatives with next-gen communities inside and outside on our company to create dialogue and to share best practices. For example, Next has set up a global mentoring program for young talents and senior leaders, and we have created a networking platform for more than 1,000 participants. Our next big event is our next virtual summit, which will conduct from November 15th to 19th, where we held several sessions to next generation of work, next generation of climate and earth, and social innovation. Beside our global core team, there are also several local ambassadors from additional countries who conduct our initiatives on a local level. As you can see on the slide, Next is represented worldwide from America to Asia. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please ask them directly in our Q&A session. And now I will pass the word to my colleague Guillermo to explain you a little bit more about the session today.
Thank you very much, Max. I'm so glad to be here today and to see so many people listening to what is going to come. As Max has introduced you, I'm co-leading the external connection role for Next, and I have been working on Zurich as a consultant in the OPEX team of Spain for almost 2 years. First of all, I would like to remind you that during the session, you can ask questions through the chat. After the presentation, the one that have received the most votes will be answered in case that there is no time to answer them all. So 15 years ago, no one had a smartphone, and we thought that the phones were only used to call, play Snake, and leave ads. Today, no one's leave home without their smartphone. Hundreds of companies are dedicated to apps development, and many jobs can be done only with it from anywhere in the world. So if everything has changed so much in such a short time, what awaits us in the next 15 years? A boom in the electric vehicle industry, automation for everything, or new jobs in which we cannot even imagine now? It is clear that the labor market is going to change, and the main lever of that change is all of us, its workers. Furthermore, you don't have to go so far in time to see the big changes. In 2025, the 75% of the workforce will be made out of millennials. But how is that market going to be? To answer that question, I have the pleasure of introducing you to two very special guests, beginning with Dr. Michael Zimmer. Thank you, Michael. You're on live.
Okay, thanks for the introduction and thanks for being here. At the moment, I just don't see any presentation anymore. Whatever.
But it works.
It works, okay. So thanks for being here. I just opened mine on the left. So it's future of work. It's our future. And I think it's a good topic where we should talk about, where we should discuss. And we had similar talks in the German entity, and I'm really happy to talk about this from my point of view, important topic also now on a Zurich and also external level in this now international session. About the speakers, Uwe and I. So about me, my name is Michael. I'm at Zurich for 1.5 years now. What am I? I'm a father, husband, chief data officer, and also head of AI and machine learning. And I think having this kind of role description also on LinkedIn and also on other presentation shows that there is a shift also within the companies and also in Zurich about family work-life balance. I think 5 to 10 years ago, my bosses would have looked strange at me if I would have had father and husband as the first line of my introduction. But I think nowadays we see that people, education, ourselves, family are more important. And I think this is also something which is important to future of life. Uwe, who's professor, we know each other, I think already about 10 years now. The fun fact here, I think we met in person 20 times. All the things we did, creating books, writing papers, doing presentations, all the pre-work was done virtually, normally no time in a room. So the future of work that we are living at the moment due to COVID, I think we did already in the last 10 years. And by now, even without meeting him quite often, I would call him a friend. So also this kind of works. So Uwe, it's up to you.
Okay, thank you, Michael. First of all, I would like to thank you for the invitation to talking about the future of work, an important topic, I think. And just about my person, I'm an economist, and I worked for 5 years in Brazil for Deutsche Bank. And after this, I worked for SAP and then became professor in Karlsruhe. And I'm doing this now for about 17 years and working on business intelligence, data science, project management, and in the last years I'm working on data science. Okay, can we switch to another? Okay, before starting, I would like to give a kind of a broader picture, because we all know that in many ways the pandemic has not only changed our lives, but has been a disruptive moment. And in being this, it has propelled, it has fueled changes in our way of working. You all know this. You all know Zoom, Teams, WebEx, GoToMeeting, you name them. And you all work from home or have worked from home more than expected. The question is, what will remain when the normal life comes back? And this is quite surprisingly for me that even though every company knew this time would come, they are still not prepared, because pre-COVID times cannot be compared with the post-COVID times. So when being asked, 68% in the survey of the companies had no detailed plan for hybrid work when being asked. And this is quite surprisingly for me, but we come back to this later. Next slide, please. So the future of work will be, well, we all would like to know, but as Niels Bohr, the Nobel Prize winner, said about 100 years ago, prediction is very difficult, especially about the future. So it's not like a crystal ball we have, but we have different kinds of expectations here. On the one hand, you see our Charlie Chaplin, who has to fight against the machines in his famous movie Modern Times. And the movie, by the time, reflected the feelings of the workforce regarding an increasing mechanical automation. So today we do not fear machines, but the machines from today are algorithms. It's artificial intelligence, black boxes. On the other hand, future may be bright. I can work wherever I want. I can take my office with me, even here to a beautiful beach on the west coast of Portugal, where I spent my sabbatical in springtime. Okay, let's see what we can tell you about the future of work. Next slide, please. One thing is for sure, the the work will be more hybrid from now on. Here there's a graph from a very interesting survey from McKinsey, and McKinsey asked C-level managers what level of remote working, for office-based working of course, does your company have? And in the pre-COVID times, 99% worked on site 5 days a week, and just 1% worked remotely or partly in the home office. We all know that this will change, but I was surprised seeing that C-level managers expect only 10% to return completely, so to the 5 days on-site week. 80% will only work 2 to 4 days, 2 to 4 days in the office. 80%, and that 10% will work completely remote or staying or coming to the office at maximum once a week. But it is interesting. I had several talks over the past 2 weeks, and I talked to a very successful startup in Berlin, and they told me that their data engineers, they are not willing to come back to the office. So before COVID, everybody was working in the office. Once in a while they work from home, but normally they worked in the office. Now they work completely remote, and they do not want to come back. They show that they can work from home without losing productivity or efficiency. And they would like to stay with this personal freedom. And on the other hand, I talked to 3 CTOs over the past 2 weeks. 2 of them from Karlsruhe. One had become a CTO in Hamburg. The other had become CTO in Berlin. And neither of them is going to move or to Berlin or to Hamburg. They both will work from Karlsruhe and go to their offices only once in a while. So even on the C-level management. Or the third one is not even based in Germany. He's based in Scandinavia, and he works fully remote. So this is going to change, but I think for most people, there will be a 60-40 or 80-20% share between office and home-based. Next slide, please. Okay, so in general, we all know that we will have more home office or work at home, and we will have more virtual meetings. We all are cracked now. We are very good now, pros now on virtual meetings, but we will see also more collaboration tools. So not only sharing documents or calendars, but also work on whiteboards together in a creative process. For example, I think companies are not yet prepared for this, and we will see more decentralized work. So we will have teams working all over Germany or all over the world. They can work together in a virtual system. On the other hand, of course, we'll have less business trips. According to the German Institute of the German economy, German companies saved more than 11 billion euros last year in business trips, and these are the raw data. So they saved more last year, but that was due to the economic turndown. And we all know that also because of the carbon footprint, the business trips will not come back and on the past levels. I think it's very good because sometimes I had to go to Stuttgart just for a 1-hour meeting, and I spent 2 hours to go and 2 hours to come back due to the traffic jam. So I had to spend 5 hours just to talk for 1 hour. Okay. When I do this meeting virtually, I lose the lunch invitation, but it's okay for me. And of course, for the companies, it's great when you work from home, partly because the office space needed will decrease. So this is also a cost factor. On the other hand, you have less informal communication, which is very important. I think Michael will come back to this later on. Because imagine when you have a meeting on Zoom or Teams, after the meeting you turn down, you log out, and it's over. When you have a physical meeting, after the meeting you group together, you talk, you discuss the results of the meeting, and this will maybe inspire you for new ideas. And my fears as well is also that people who work fully remotely from home, they do not have this identification with the company, so corporate identity may suffer. So I think we need to find the right balance here between remote work and work on site. Michael, what do you think? What are your experiences at Zurich?
So I think if we go back to the first parts about being ready for virtual work, Zurich, I would say, was, at least for the German insurances, kind of best in class, because something called flex office was there for quite a while. Nevertheless, if we look at the COVID change, I think COVID also helped to get some signings, joint work of our workers' council, HR, and also the C-levels. And we were quite fast in rolling out things. But I think the asset there was we had some remote work already for the people. And this is something there in general. Again, my team seems to mess up, so I renewed. I don't see anything, Max, but if you can go to the slide with the pictures, the future of work challenges and opportunities, because there I had some pictures. So if you look at the lower pictures, this was the view when I wrote some chapters of a book together with Uwe. So since I was working, I always had the time to work from different locations, from also wellness areas in hotels. I had bosses that supported me. They knew my work is not worse. It's even better if I have quiet time for myself. Nevertheless, in the scenario now with having my little son Jonah running around, working remotely can also be some kind of challenge from a family perspective. The other hand, the next pictures, I always like to go to conferences. In the last years, I think I've been to so many conferences I never did because I never had to travel. Nevertheless, there is no networking. There is no speaking with the people, because in the end, the important thing for me was not the speaker slots. The important thing for me was standing in the lunch break, drinking a coffee, talking to many different people, get to know them, understand their situations, get to know interesting insights besides the fancy slides where you see, oh yeah, it's nice, but I don't believe it's working. Nevertheless, it's good marketing at the conference. Another point which is coming too short on the next picture, at the moment when I have the chance to go to the campus, I meet people, and also there the communication, the informal knowledge is important. So Dirk, one of our experts for the German strategy was in a room with me. We watched the German screening of our, let's say, CEO roadshow. What did we do last year? In this talk, I realized, damn, I have to talk to some more people because my budget process didn't work like expected. So it was important that I sat together with Dirk to realize that, because without that meeting, without this also face-to-face communication, informal things, I would have thought everything is fine. But there we were sitting, we talked, and by the way, we also talked about budget by accident. So luckily we did. The next thing, which is a challenge and also nice at the same time. So if you look at the pictures, you see my firstborn Jonah in the office in Cologne. There is the possibility to bring our kids to office. That's nice. The bad thing is only few people know that it's possible. But if you look at the way of working, my second-born Annabelle is on the other pictures on my hands. There are situations where I have to balance business, work, important meetings. So by now, my wife asked me, would it be possible that you take Annabelle now because I want to go out and pick something up? Now I said, no, it's 500 people. But there are situations where I had Annabelle in meetings with our C-level. It's possible. And I think it's also important for us as, let's say, lower executives to show that it's possible. And I'm thankful to Zurich that we are allowed to do that. And in the end, it's also about the coffee spots where the information can move. When I'm in campus, even if there are few people walking around, talking, getting to know things, that's the place where you get the informal stuff, where you know what's happening, who you should talk with. And I think that's the thing where we have to make sure that the people also in the future, from a way of working kind of view, get these chances. It's also a way to call people via Teams and do some chatting with them, but only few people do that. So I think still having places to meet on a regular basis, or like Uwe said, he believes something about 50 to 60% on-site being average for the average worker in Germany. I think having something like that at least 2 days is good to get to know your colleagues, to discuss about important things, but also to see the people. And what we saw in COVID, also with the Workers' Council, when the people weren't allowed to go to the campus, there were people that said, but I want to go. So I'm divorced. My gym is closed. I can't do anything. So they really like to be in the office and just seeing people. We also don't have to forget being at the office is also a way of communication, and not all people of us have a huge network. So from my former life as a consultant, it always was, you should be aware that you don't have only colleagues and no old friends anymore, because then it's bad. But also business is a place where you meet people, where you make friends. And that's also something where we should be aware. And to hand back to Uwe, I'm always jealous if I see your hideout spots and where you can work. That's also the way you are living the dream.
Okay, I'm now on?
Yep.
Okay, good. Well, you shouldn't be jealous, because the problem is I always carry my office with me. So I work all the time, even though it may be in different places. Last year, the challenge for me was that that we had to switch to online lectures, and on the right side you see my online lecture setup. So I could give my lectures from home, and it worked out very well. But as I said before, I was on sabbatical this spring, and on the other hand, on the other side, you see my office in Portugal. But it was possible to have all the meetings, to meet with my colleagues, to meet with my research partners, to meet with my students from remotely. So I could work 100% from Portugal. And this is, of course, an advantage today, that we can work wherever we are. Okay, next slide, please. Good. Before coming to the new skill set that is needed to be in this new environment, I would like to stress 3 pillars. I think 3 pillars that are necessary to be kept in mind when talking about the new the work in the future. Those pillars are, for me, is the agile environment, the digital transformation, and of course AI. Let's start with agility. Agility is just the capability to respond very fast to new challenges and circumstances, to find new solutions quickly. And speaking from the IT world, the times of the lonely wolves, the ace programmers who would come up with a solution independently. When you send them for 4 weeks in a small cabinet, they would come up with a great solution for you. Those times are long gone. Today is all about the team. So projects are worked on in teams. Software development is in teams. So it's the team it's all about. And the teams are not just IT people, but there are interdisciplinary teams in order to create or to support creativity in the team. So you bring together some people to come up with new solutions for your problems. But when talking about the team, you have to see that even the teams have to work within a set of rules. This is very important because when someone does not follow the rules, he has to be taken out of the team, for example. So the whole team has to follow a set of rules established by the company. But the team can manage himself, can decide what tasks do we take next, what kind of technology we want to use. The team can make his own decisions. The last part is very difficult for classical management, because you have to hand over responsibility to the team. But as the software development shows, this works out very well. Well, the pictures here, I apologize for the quality, but this is the 2014 soccer World Cup final in Rio, and I couldn't walk around in Rio with a very good camera, SLR. But winning the soccer World Cup in 2014 for me was a team success. We had no Messi, we had no Ronaldo, we had no Neymar, but we had a good working team, and the team won the cup. Okay, next, please. Good. Digital transformation and AI. Digital transformation is still, for most companies, a challenge. So now working with IoT, with machine learning, AI, and so on. It's very difficult for smaller companies and even for big companies. But you have to see, or you have to look at machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence as tools supporting your operational tasks. And they will leave you with more time for value-adding activities. So, of course, you can collect data and put them in your system manually. But isn't it better to just scan or take a picture from a document and the AI is reading out the data it needs. I think Michael will have a good example for this. And so you have more time for your value adding activities. Of course, there will be a shift towards high qualified work. But this is nothing new. Since the first industrial revolution, yeah, so we substituted muscle power through machines and so on. Remember the picture from Charlie Chaplin being afraid of the machines. But what is new now is that it's not about mechanical automation, it's about process automation. So it reaches the next level. It's out of the plants towards the office now. And this is very interesting because we have well, I won't say fear, but we have a lot of respect regarding our new tools, our new level of automation. But remember that qualification can have different phases. For example, trained people are and will always be of major importance for economic success. And domain expertise and experience will remain key skills. So you have to be prepared for changes, but you don't have to be afraid. So this is one of my favorite cartoons from German artist Dieter Hanitz, and it shows quite well that people are well, they do not welcome new technologies, even though those technologies will increase their productivity and will not kill their jobs, but save their jobs, because the new technologies and the new technology enables them to work more efficiently and more effectively. Next, please. So now we come to the fundamental skills for the workplace of the future. Donnie et al. Had done a very interesting study regarding the fundamental skills we need in the future. And they detected more than 50. Well, I will not talk about the 50, but they have 4 different main categories: cognitive, interpersonal, self-leadership, and digital. And some of them are very interesting, so let's talk about them. One key skill is, for example, structured problem solving. So the ability to solve problems with non-obvious solutions. So you have to come up with solutions no one has thought about, but break them down into smaller parts. Okay, you have to have the ability to work on complex problems. Using logical reasoning. Logical reasoning, of course, is the ability to come to conclusions based on the facts you have. And you can come up there by asking the right questions. Asking the right questions is also an ability, because it pushes forward the discussion you may have. You should be able to present your conclusions. So storytelling is important. Agile thinking, sure. Agile thinking is, for me, one of the key factors. Why? Or key skills? Because someone who has adopted the agile thinking is not afraid of failing. And agile, it is, you say, fail often and early. So you can fail, of course, but every time you fail, you learn. So, and you stand up and you come up with another solution. Adapting different perspectives is also important because you have to look at the problem from different perspectives. Okay, I have to hurry, I think. Organizational awareness is important because you have to have the skill to work within the processes the company has established. You have to know the processes and you have to make use of them. You have to have empathy. Empathy is very important in order to collaborate with others. You have to be not only driving change and innovation, so come up with new solutions, but you have to have the skill to cope with uncertainty. And this is very difficult sometimes because you are in an environment that is not so sure, and coping with the uncertainty enables you to operate effectively in situations where the plan doesn't work. So it makes you more flexible. Let's come to the part which is important for Michael, I think. The digital part. What are the skills we need in this category? Of course, we need to have digital literacy. This is the ability to handle digital data using popular software, standard software, in order to access digital services and interact also with artificial intelligence tools. And you have to be able to make use of the digital learning offerings. So when you do not know something, just learn it. Go to the internet, go to a webinar in order to learn it by yourself. Something which is very important for me is the part of the digital ethics. And you all may have heard of the discussion last week regarding Facebook. And digital ethics is very important. It is the ability to understand how ethics translate into the digital world. Okay, so your actions in the digital world will have impacts, ethical impacts, and you have to be you have to have a consciousness regarding this. And the last point is the data literacy. This is the ability to understand not only the processes, but also how data in your company are created, collected, validated, and stored. So you need to understand how data is handled in your company, which will be the part of Michael, I think. So this is on the personal level. All the skills are on the personal level. Next slide, please. But it is the responsibility of the company to assure a solid base for you to make use of your skills. And this is why we need processes and structures. So the company gives you the house where you can work and where you can apply your personal skills. And with this, I would like to hand over to Michael.
So I like this point of view, also with a house, because I think in the end, it's up to us as companies, as leading people in the company, to help our people to find their roles, to find their ways. Again, so please go to the slide where the many jobs seem to be far away from now. So I don't see anything, so it will keep like that. but on there, I had top jobs from a previous talk of another professor. And on there, it was the hot jobs to be are AI specialists, some kind of reliability engineer, consultants, engineers, chief digital officer, DevOps engineer. This was a talk also for Zurich, Germany. And what I realized when I started here, we have a really diverse workforce. So it's not like in consulting where even all assistants had at least a bachelor's degree. We have all kind of people that are working 40 years, they learned their job, they haven't been in universities, they studied, and for them such things where saying, hey, there are new fancy jobs, they get afraid. And I think that's something that's also important. Maybe not for the next generation, because for you, the change I think is something that you face daily, but nevertheless for all of us, that's something that we as a company also have to build bridges. And if I look at these jobs, so an AI specialist in insurance, we have the actuaries. We want to develop them to AI specialists in the future. The GDPR topics, we have a GDPR team, but in the end, it's all of us. All of us is responsible to do the right thing, to get the right data. So it's not only the expert in GDPR, it's us. Data consultant, it's more and more important, but to be fair, it's not that we always hire new people from externally. It's also that people who are doing the job, they work with databases, they become a data consultant on their own because they have the domain knowledge, they know what to do. So that's also an important thing. We can change. DevOps engineers. So we are Zurich, we are doing DevOps in IT, but we are also doing machine learning ops now. So it's nothing new, it's coming, and the actuaries, the data scientists, the people that are working with my platform, they get to learn it on the job, because to be honest about that, if you look on the market, there are not many people that really know how to do MLOps. So we are learning it together, and that's also a chance for our people. We mentioned the agile topics, agile coach. So at Zurich, we do the scaled agile framework. We have lean belts, we are agile. So that's something where we travel already together. The whole organization is moving, and I think that's important. And in the end, from my point of view, your job title might change, but the important thing is you need to be open, you need to be interested, and you need to be hungry, and then you will succeed. Because if you go to the next slide, please. If we look at artificial intelligence, I mentioned people are afraid. These are some of my slides when I talk to people that don't know AI, where I say, okay, on the top left, there is data from Star Trek. That's what media tells. This is AI. On the right, you see a picture of a robot in the German office. He's called Chris. My son really loves him. He asked him what he wants to eat. And Chris said, yeah, I really like fresh data and a huge amount of power from the line. So, but it's nothing to be afraid of. They can't do that much. They can speak a bit. They can do some simple tasks, but also the AI in our business is not the smart robot. It's not the Terminator. It's more or less something that helps us solve business problems. And in the end, the data is our biggest challenge, because we feed the data to an algorithm, and normally our data is not good enough. So the algorithm might get some kind of insane. So data prep is the work of a data scientist, 80% of his daily work. Also with the black box things, explainability is a challenge, but that's also, we need the data scientists to make it accessible, but we need the people to do the interpretation of the results. So it's not that someone is going to a quiet room and doing magic. It's data science for me is a process of bringing together claims handlers, other business people, data people to create something. And again, there it's about being together. If you look at what we are doing, many things are pattern-based. And in the end, AI will be used in the whole customer journey. But I really believe at the moment we are bringing in efficiency that helps us to answer requests which were handled without looking in the past. And now we are able to say the claims handlers, the agents, have a look at this because there is a high risk. So we look at the right things. We don't decrease any work. We just make sure that we work on the right things. And if you can go to the next slide, please. It's important for me again, we don't have to be afraid. I really liked a picture one of a German AI researcher said. For her, AI was nothing to be afraid, and it was more or less like an animal that is helping. So I looked for the picture of a narcotic squad dog, because in the end, we are still in charge. AI is helping us to solve some problems, but it's a tool that we are using, something that helps us, and it's really not the Terminator that makes us not relevant anymore. And just one thing to get behind the bus. So if you can go to the next slide, if you haven't already. For me, it's important. At the moment, we have many topics. So one is automation and robotics. The other is AI. If you look at robotics and automation, at the moment, most of the things is recording steps, redoing it, make sure that people don't have to fill in the same thing in 5 different tools, but it's not smart. The tools change, they are open to AI now, but still it's weak AI. We are learning from data, we try to make decisions based on the data. We also can try to adapt changes in the data in our decisions, but it's not that it's the data from Star Trek. And the strong AI, where people act like a human and exceeds the human intelligence, there we are far away. And my second child was born soon, no, not soon yet. And if I look what the brain is doing, so what she learns, how many things she can do now, I think also the strong AI, till we have people-like things, humans are great. And artificial intelligence, I don't believe that they can take all tasks of us, because we are really good. We are generalists, like we saw before. Our way of working will change, but for me at the moment, I would say AI is nothing to be afraid of. If we look at paradigms, what you should be aware in the past, when I started at university, also AI was you have an input, you have a rule and an output. And AI in the past was you have a rule-based system, and it helps, for example, doctors to do the right exam or something like that. But it was rule-based. Nowadays, machines program machines because we have input, output, and based on this data, the computers can generate rules. And also this changed the view on data, because we see now our input data is important, but also the data, do we have now a claims case? Is it some kind of fraud? This information, which was in the end just the result, is now something where we can generate pattern. And that's something, the way of working is changing, and that I think is the people have to understand. We don't want to program everything anymore, not rule-based, but AI can help us to see patterns where no one of us thought of. And if you go to the next slide, if I have a look from the AI point of view, what is the impact on people? So in the past it was, we have IT people, we have business people, and normally they didn't want to talk because business thought IT, it's just only the computers, and IT said, oh, business, we don't understand them. Nowadays, we have to talk. The worlds are growing together. We are becoming more generic. So the classical product understanding, creativity from a product point of view, communication, customer point of view, has to be combined with data and architectures, with new tools, with an understanding also of, for example, data science. And this doesn't mean that everyone has to be a data scientist, but at least everyone should know what AI can do and where it could help in my daily business. And to bring it together, that's also, I think, my role in AI, show benefits, bring the worlds together, show what's possible, and show the joy of and with AI. But the same things, there are some other things on the left and on the right, can be for other topics, for digitalizations, for way of working. I think it's important that you see the chances, but it's also up to us. We have to do some changes. If you go to the next slide, what I really like nowadays is that there also is some kind of change in the way how people look at the career and also bosses look. So when I started, I'm about 40-ish, it was you start, you do a career and it's going up. And nowadays the people realize, yeah, you start, you soak and learn, you do the first job, you get the first promotion, but then maybe you get a kid or you want to do something new and you make a sidestep or you make a step back. In the past, this would have been really bad. Now this changes your view, and also the HR people, the executives, for them, it's nothing bad anymore. It's just a choice. It's choice of you. It's work. It's life. You have to do your prioritization for your own. And there will be new opportunities. And I had discussions with some of my old counselees. They just did a sidestep, and there were bosses who said, hey, how can you do that? You are not on a better job. You are not earning more. And then he said, yeah, but the job is fun. I just got a kid. I want to make sure that my wife and I can work. So this for us now for the next 3 to 5 years, this is the place to be. And by the way, the topics, they are interesting. I want to do it. So they decided it. And I really believe he won't have any problems with it because the society changed. And after the new opportunities, there might be a midlife crisis, maybe for me. You never know what happens, but in the end, you need a happy life. You need to be happy with your job. You need to be aware change sometimes is needed, but it's nothing bad. And we as humans, we can anticipate. We just have to accept the change. And in the end, it's up to us. So me as some kind of executive, Zurich as a company, but also you as employees or maybe new employees or whatever, because it's us who make the future. And I think it's something where all of us has to learn. The organization has to learn. We have to learn. We have to articulate our needs. There are things that will be possible, others not, but we are also here in a constant change. And I think that's good. So if you go to the slide, next one, as we are in insurances, what does it mean for some kind of different personas? So I have the CI expert, some kind of actuary, claims expert, and IT admin. The CI expert, if we look at this persona, strong expertise in assessment of buildings, 20 years at Zurich, engineering backgrounds, but still interested in new trends. For this person, if we look at the remote topic, most of them I know, they already have remote, really old contracts. They can work from home. They do it for them. Nothing is changing. But from an AI perspective, I'm talking with some underwriters about possibilities. And 2 weeks ago, I was in our office and one of them saw me. Hey, Michael, we talked about something. I have an idea. Can't we do this? So for them, it's understand what's possible, bring it in their daily work. And I have to enable them to get better results. The actuary, they know SAS, they are a member of the actuarial society, they are interested in data. They can become data scientists if they want to. So there is already the change. And also the actuarial society saw this, so there are trainings. It's the same with Zurich Group. There are training programs, they are setting up servers and things. There is already change. Then I took an example of claims handlers. So they are experienced in claims. Now they are focusing on RPA, they know claims, they know the processes, they know the customers. There are many people that already did a change from claims handling to now claims process design using RPA. And also for them, AI will help. And maybe they might change one more time a bit their way of working, but still they are needed and they're highly evaluated. And the IT crowd, if you look, they are the example, long experience in DB2 as database. They are doing regular trainings. If you look at this, as long as you are not host-based, you should look left and right. So in this scenario, it would be good to have a look at big data technologies or other things. Nevertheless, there is change everywhere, and the company is supporting it, the online trainings. It's just up to us to see the chances. And if you go to the next slide, I just want to say 2 words about the most sexiest job of the 21st century. So data scientist, what it's really about. Some years ago, everyone wanted to be data scientists, and people who did something called themselves data scientists. But in the end, if you look at the bulbs, the biggest thing is data preparation and understanding. It's communication and business knowledge. So in the end, they have to know, where do I get the data? How do I cleanse it? Is the data biased? Also the ethic topics, they have to understand. But then also, what does this value mean? How do I create benefit for my colleagues or for my processes? How do I get support from management? Because in the end, I might have a good idea, but no one is supporting it. And only a really small amount of the work of a data scientist is the magic where everyone thinks they are doing. Like I mentioned, 80 to 90% is wrangling data, preparing it, and only 10% is in the end making the cool, fancy stuff. So even there, what they are doing and what media is making out of it is something different. So let's go to the last slide. In the end, there are chances and also challenges. We as a company have to learn and grow with our people. In the end, work-life can be nice in the modern world, but it can be hard. So for me, I see some challenges. There are good things, there are bad things. We need to set new personal goals. Career is not everything, and also the companies have to understand that. We need to be together. Together is on the one hand something, we need the identity, we need to meet, but we also need the chance. So if people say they want to stay on their own, I believe it's not the good thing for the whole group and also not for the company. We need the right ideas. Education is the chance, because we see we have to re-educate ourselves. There is less travels. We compete about you. We have to make sure that we have the right environment for our people. And I think that's something what Zurich is doing quite well. The people are core, and that's why what I really like at being at Zurich. I am important. That's also a change. We see it's not human capital anymore, it's the people. Family can help and grow, but also be a challenge. But like Uwe mentioned, with the working from everywhere, you are everywhere, and you can be accessible. And my son, for example, told me in the vacation, Dad, get rid of the phone. And he's right. If we are out of business, there are situations where you have to look for your kids, be aware of the people, and not looking into the phone and do something. So that's also that we have to realize. And the companies and also universities have to help in the end to guide. So that's the situation from my point of view. We are on a joint way together. I really don't know what the future will bring, but I believe it's something good. And I think it's also something where we all have fun with. So I'm not afraid. Okay, questions, and then I would hand over to, I think, Max to manage this.
So to continue, if you want, Michael, we can be the ones who read the
Thank
question.
you, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Uwe, for the very interesting talks. This is very next related, and when I look on our Q&A session, there are several questions which fits very well to the content, and I would like to start with a question from Leon. What do you think about the new area of informal meetings? For younger generation, it seems familiar to make digital and meaningful connections, social media, gaming. I feel that we limit ourselves using technology only for conferences, collaboration. Everyone says how important these social aspects are, yet nobody is really enabling them digitally.
You and me, Uwe.
Well, I can answer in a more general way, and you can answer it in a more Zurich-based view. I think, Leon, you're absolutely right. We are always talking about virtual meetings. We are always talking about collaboration tools, but we talk less about meeting in a social way during during work. So maybe we should we should come up with more ideas how we can substitute the office meeting, the informal meeting in the office, with a digital room, maybe where everyone is cool and everyone talks about less formal, so we can change information, and points of view in order to not to meet in the office, but in a digital way. Maybe Michael, Zurich is already thinking about something like this.
So I think from my point of view, the point of Leon is quite good. And what I realize is I'm already old if I look young, even if I look young. So you know, it's right. So social media, gaming, and I think gaming is a good point, is something where you connect. If we look at Zurich, we have workplace, we have some media channels, but in the end, I think the challenge here is we have some people that are quite active. I'm also one of them, but we don't reach all of our people. What I think is quite interesting, when we had some virtual meetings for Christmas and things, there are now concepts where you virtually can create some kind of tables where people can talk. So there are some social media-like things that are upcoming, which I think are quite interesting, but nevertheless, I still will think about this gaming and other things, because that's something which I haven't had on my list yet. So I will think about it if I have a quiet moment.
Max?
Yes, I hand over to Guillermo.
So. Can you listen to me?
Yes.
Perfect. So Kate is asking the question with more likes. She is asking, do your experts think that the taxation and regulatory system will catch up with our virtual hybrid mindset? At the moment, I might want to work on a beach in Bali and have the tools to work on a beach in Bali, but the tax systems tell me that I can, as I'm employed in the UK and pay in the UK. Who wants to answer this one?
I think I'll go for it. I think that from my point of view, working at least for a period in Bali wouldn't be the problem. But I think at the moment we have challenges. If we say, okay, I'm working for a German company and I want to work from somewhere else. So there are taxation problems also with German working law or stuff like that. This is something I believe we will find solutions. And I had an interview with a data scientist 2 days ago, and he was working for a US firm from Germany, fully remote. And the reason why he applied was, okay, now he could work from everywhere, but he isn't meeting his people. So there it was possible. I think at the moment in the European Union, it's more complex, and also in German, even worse. But we'll have to find ways. But I think a good starting point is that if we are more flexible within the days, there is also a change in the leadership of the companies. But taxation has to change. But I talked also with some people of my former life, so from audit and Big Four companies. There are already ideas about that, but the regulation will take some time.
Okay, thank you, Michael, for this interesting answer. And I would suggest regarding the time, I would suggest we answered one question more, and it refers very well to our last slide, which means what can companies in general do to get people trained up on technologies like AI and ML? And do you think companies are doing enough to achieve this objective? And also, what are things a leader can change today to support and encourage their staff to enable them to deal with the new situation?
So I would answer from my perspective as being head of. So what we can do is we can give the people time to try new things. to educate themselves. So that's something I think which we have to keep in mind. If we want the people to change, we have to give them the chance to do. Nevertheless, what I also see is there are huge possibilities to train already. So from Zurich, externally, from coaches or whatever, the things are available, but the people are normally not taking it. Maybe they don't think it's relevant. But another thing, where I really came into thinking, I had younger people where we said here, and by the way, there are some trainings, and some it's 8 hours. You can do a certificate from one of the big vendors. It will be good for your CV too. And they said, and by the way, they can't do any training outside the business hours, where I think 1 hour outside, at least from my point of view, is something that we all should be able to do. I don't expect anyone to, like in my consulting jobs where I started, work 40 to 50 hours at least, and then do the training in your free time. That's something where no one expects, and I would say in the normal industry. But I also saw that people don't want to spend an hour or something every week to do something. And that's a thing where also all of us have to do some mind shift. And if I look at my vacations, at the moment I'm saying I don't want to read any expertise book. I just read novels because I have enough. But maybe I also have to change and take at least one book where I learn something with me. But it's up to us to change. The opportunities are really there. But I believe many people don't see them or don't want to take them. And that's something where we help to encourage, give the space, but also say you have to do something on your own. I think it's both things that we need to support.
Well, let me add something to your comment. I think it depends on the kind of training you offer. I think AI is not something you should offer in a normal classroom-based environment. Maybe you can come up with the opportunities to work together with teams, with AI teams, like an internship. So you can go deep into the AI world. You can see what's going to happen. You can see how it works, how a data scientist works, for example, how your teams are working in order to create more consciousness about what's AI all about.
That's what I try to do. Get some virtual internships, do cases together, and show the people. And supporting them with the right trainings, because I also believe doing is the one thing, but if I want to help people grow and also help them to compete in the future, I want to give them some certification that they also have some kind of science. And that's what we plan to do, or what I'm already doing. You're fully right.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Uwe, for the very interesting session. And we hope you stay in contact with Next. And also thank you to all participants who have joined today. Unfortunately, we could not manage to answer to all of your questions, but we will collect them and we will answer, and we'll come back to you after our call. And a last announcement, the next event which will happen is the Next Virtual Summit at the mid of November, and you will see very soon your invites for our very interesting sessions with more external speakers. And at least I wish you all a happy weekend, and thanks you for joining.
Thanks for the interest. Bye.
Thanks for the invitation and for the interest. Bye.
See you.
Bye.